Today, we're proud to revive the newest branch of the In All Kinds of Weather brand, Tailgate Talk. Hosted by the OG In All Kinds of Weather forecast co-host Casey Hampton, Tailgate Talk is based on those relaxed and informal conversations you have with your buddy out on the lawn or on a beach or in a car or anytime you just want to get away from the real world and just focus on your Florida Gators. Today, we're talking about the 9-game SEC football schedule that we all assume to be coming, who Florida might draw as their permanent opponents, and different models that may be rolled out. This is Tailgate Talk, powered by the In All Kinds of Weather forecast.
Welcome to another edition of Tailgate Talk. My name is Casey. I am your host, and I am here with the founder of the In All Kinds of Weather Media Network, Neil Schulman. So we are actually together in Fort Lauderdale, where I live, and we will be going to see the Gators take on the tropical depressions of Coral Gables. So welcome, everybody. We are going to talk today about what a 9-game conference schedule would look like. So
In football, switching
in
gears.
football, yes, in football. So
We do know the baseball schedule. That's going to be a 10-series slate with 2 opponents every year. They're going to be the same. That's going to be Georgia and South Carolina for Florida. Much talk, though, Casey, about what that's going to look like in football. 8-game conference schedule is on the docket for the upcoming season in 24. There's been a lot of buzz about.
I'm really glad we didn't pick up Vandy in the baseball schedule. I'm really glad we didn't do that. I mean, I hope we can pick him up in the football schedule, but
There's been a lot of buzz about that. Just the tenacity of the schedule, and also whether or not it's going to stay at 8 games moving forward. But
I don't think it's going to stay at 8. So we're going to go with the assumption that we're going to go with a 9-game schedule. So,
which there has been rumors about.
Indeed,
Chris Del
indeed.
Conte saying that.
And on a personal note, thank you for everybody reaching out as I'm battling cancer right now. So thank you so much for all the thoughts and prayers of everybody, whether that be Gator, Noel, Kane, dog, whatever your mascot of choice is. But thank you so much. I've definitely felt them. They've definitely lifted me up, and keep them coming because the fight goes on. So thank you. I just wanted to say that on a personal note, and that's why Tailgate Talk has been a bit delayed as I go through my treatments for that. But
We're proud of you, by the way. It's not an easy journey.
Thanks, man. So hopefully we won't lose too much more of this going on. But as we go on, in all kinds of weather, as they say. So let's go on and talk about the 9-game conference schedule. So in a perfect world without divisions. So the SEC it has done away with divisions. This will be the first year without East or West since 1992. When
92 was the first year of it.
92 was the first year. That's what I said. First year since 92 without the divisions. See, this is what Neil tries to get when he tries to correct me. It just doesn't work. So, if we're looking at 9 games, let's come up with our own 9 games, and let's just go game by game. And if we're different and you disagree, feel free to chime in.
So are we going to start with doing the 3 permanent? Because we're going to assume if it's going to be 9 games, if we're going to assume,
we're going to start with the 3 permanent.
So that's the thing. So if we're going to assume that there will be any permanent opponents, we will assume it's going to be 3-6.
Correct.
So we're going to start with the 3. Okay.
Correct. Sure. We're going to assume a 3-6 model, and what that means, folks, is 3 teams we will play every year, and then the other 6 will be on rotation. And this actually kind of harkens back to what the SEC did in the 90s, where every team got to play every team at least once, be it home or away.
Every 4 years. Yeah.
Every 4 years.
So every college player, of course, now with the transfer portal, it's been a mess. But the idea is you stay for 4 years, you will play every team in the SEC at least once.
So that's the idea.
Yeah.
So that's the model we're going to go with. SEC could come up with something completely new and completely out there, but we're just going to go with that model. So I think I'm going to go with a low-hanging fruit. I think we all know and we all want Georgia to be on that schedule, and I don't think they're going to take Georgia off the schedule.
Whether we want it or not, they're going to be on the schedule.
Correct.
The city of Jacksonville is not going to let
the city of there's just too much within that. So and especially now, you've got 3 neutral site games in the SEC. Now you've got Texas and Oklahoma. You've got Texas A&M, Arkansas, and then you have Florida, Georgia. So the SEC now has 3 neutral site games going on. And it actually kind of works because if you think about it, within the footprint of the Southeastern Conference, you've got the eastern footprint with Florida, Georgia. You sort of got the central with Arkansas because Arkansas is a little bit further east. It's a little bit further east. So you've got three different footprints. You've got a Texas footprint. You've got two Texas
the Texarkana footprint.
Yeah, the Texarkana footprint, and then you've got Florida, Georgia. So taking a look at Florida, Georgia, Georgia's obviously on a next level right now. I called it when they named Kirby Smart. He was going to be Florida's version of Steve Spurrier coaching Georgia. Kirby Smart hates Florida in the way that Steve Spurrier hated Georgia. So I think we're in it for the long haul. I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon.
Gotta hope he retires.
I mean,
because here's the thing.
How old is he?
Well, he's not
that old.
But we're approaching a decade that he's been there now.
Okay, well,
he won't be there for another 3 decades. Like
he might be there for another 2.
I don't know.
I mean, Nick Saban retired at 74 years old. And hey, Google, how old is Kirby Smart? 48 years. He's 48 years old, dude. He ain't retiring anytime soon.
But here, all right, the point I'm going to make is even if Florida gets its ducks in a row, even let's just say Florida victorious, does everything it needs to do, the UAA backs it, everything there is great. I think the best case is Florida just to match it and to be like what an Alabama was to Georgia, which is a big, big ask. But if you remember, Alabama didn't own Georgia. Georgia beat them for a national championship. So
but Alabama beat them before that for a national championship.
I'm saying post-COVID, post-2020, post that dominant.
Well, and Alabama beat them this year.
Right.
I would swallow being a foil to Georgia. I would be okay being a foil to Georgia.
So that's the way to put it. That's, I think, the best case until Kirby retires. Is that you be like you match them and you put.
Yeah, I mean, it would just be a foil to Georgia. I'm okay with that. I don't see that rivalry changing anytime soon. In terms of Georgia's dominance in that, I think Florida will have a year here and there just because it's a rivalry game and weird things happen.
Yeah.
But I certainly don't see Florida overtaking that series anytime soon. So we're going to assume that that's going to be one opponent. And, having lived in Jacksonville for 11 years, Neil, it's a unique rivalry. It's a very, very unique rivalry. It's unique in that you've got 50-50 down. I know Georgia will like to complain that it's in Florida. That stadium is 50-50.
Like 60-40 Georgia last couple of years.
I mean, in RV City, there's a lot that goes into that game.
It's amazing, though, how quickly the complaining stopped. It's in your state when Georgia started winning.
There's still complaining going on. I mean,
nearly as loudly.
If you gave Georgia the option to play it home and home or in Jacksonville, Georgia would immediately take that home and home.
Yeah, sure. So, but the complaining has been taken down several decibel levels since they started winning. No, it's weird how that works.
I'm in on Georgia Twitter, and the complaining hasn't stopped that much. So
you like to live in cesspools. It's a different conversation.
I told you a long time ago, I truly hope that there is no harm to human life. But I want that entire campus to burn down, just completely burn down to the ground. All their coloring books in the library, them in Auburn, just let it burn. But that's
you're gonna get our podcast suspended. First time back on Tailgate Talk, we're gonna get taken down for inciting violence.
Burn, baby, burn.
Bulldog, he's not serious. No, we have to say he's not serious.
Yes, I'm not serious.
Well, yeah, we have to say that.
I would not be upset if it actually happened, but we're not being serious. So I think that's our first SEC opponent, and I think we can agree on that it's going to be Georgia.
Yes.
Now where I think we're probably going to diverge, maybe, I think you keep Florida LSU just because that's must-see television. It's must-see television. There's too much money in it.
I don't think so. I think there are bigger rivalries to be had.
There's too much. It's must-see TV. I mean,
but so was for longer Florida Auburn.
We haven't gotten there yet. I'm saying Florida LSU, that's an evenly matched series. I mean, certainly not in the last 5 or 6 years, but that is a pretty evenly matched series. And really, if you were to take away all the extemporaneous stuff, Florida and LSU are pretty similar in terms of fans and in terms of who they are as people, income levels, devotion to the school.
Florida fans are smarter,
But
that's not
Florida and
even
LSU are too similar. There are too many variables that go into that. There's too much action within that rivalry. I mean, you think about even before Hurricane Matthew in 2016. I mean, you look at the 2012 game at the Swamp, you look at the 4 downs in 2027 in Baton Rouge. There's too much history in that game. There's too much history.
There's a lot of history. But again, if we're talking about a 3-6 model, some of them are going to have to be casualties.
That will not be a casualty. There's too much money. Look at the viewership. Look at the viewership every single year of that game. It doesn't matter. Even in 2020, when we were both ass, that game still was the top game that week.
But here's where you have to remember, again, if it's a 3-6 model, LSU has too many rivalries. They have a trophy game with Ole Miss,
Sure.
Magnolia Bowl. They have a trophy game with Arkansas.
But they don't care about that. They don't care about Arkansas.
But
they care about Ole Miss and Alabama. Look,
and they have a rivalry
with trophy with Miami.
Well, they won't give it to us. But that's another.
But look,
all right, look, and they have a trophy game with Texas A&M. A new one, but
it's new. Yeah, but Florida LSU, there's too much money, and there are too many NFL players. There's too much future talent. You don't,
and I think it's going to suck to lose that game.
So there's my opinion. Who's your second?
Okay, so I thought we were going to go like team by team that could potentially be the rival.
I mean, we could do that.
No.
We could do that.
Okay,
all right. So you're no to LSU.
We agree. I think that they're going to have their hands full with other rivalry games. I would like to keep that game.
I think we do.
I would like to. I'm not opposed to keeping that.
We're keeping.
I just don't think we do.
We're keeping LSU.
I think it's Alabama, Ole Miss, and Arkansas. I think are their three opponents.
Arkansas doesn't mean that much to them. So, all right. So we did Georgia, LSU. What about Ole Miss
for Florida?
Yep. No. Okay. No. We're both in agreement on that. Mississippi State.
Unlikely, but possible. Weird. Florida does have a history with them. Yeah, you got to go way back.
It's weird.
But I mean, they do have a history.
How many games have we played with them?
It's like 33-19 Florida.
That's a lot.
They've played a lot more than, like, for example, Florida and Ole Miss. They've played almost as they played more.
South Carolina.
They played more than them. They played more than Florida, Tennessee.
Huh? Okay.
So, not by much. It's catching up.
So we'll call that a maybe. We'll call it an
unlikely maybe.
And I 100% would take Mississippi State as a rival. I would 100% take that, especially if they give us Georgia. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of akin to a Vanderbilt. I mean,
they're
a little better, but like, are they really by that much?
Those damn cowbells, though. Those damn cowbells.
Didn't bother us the last 2 times we went there. Although historically that place is a house of horrors. Yes, we won the last 2 there, but
I was there at the last one. That wasn't pretty. That was not a pretty win. So
I mean, that was the leftover. I mean, this was like pre-portal when everyone could transfer. So that was the leftovers of Mullen versus the leftovers of McElwain, with Mullen coaching McElwain's leftovers and Joe Moorhead coaching Mullen's leftovers.
So it was a weird game. It was just a weird, sloppy game.
So we're gonna say unlikely Mississippi State.
Unlikely Mississippi State, but possible.
Possible.
So we alluded to, what about Tennessee?
Coin flip. I think that is a coin flip because, again, they have too many other rivalries. They're not going to lose Alabama.
They're not going to
lose Vanderbilt, and I don't think they lose Kentucky.
I don't think they lose Georgia.
I think that's.
I don't think they lose Georgia. I just don't think they lose Georgia. There's too much history there. Too much. I mean, think about the seasons that they've ruined for one another. I mean, they have just.
Again, that's going to be a casualty of the conference expansion. Do you want to talk about the price we pay for, first of all, Texas A&M and Missouri, and now Texas and Oklahoma joining the conference? This is it. This is what we're going to have to pay for it. We're going to lose that game.
Okay, so
I think it's. All right, here's what I'll say. There's 0% chance they're going to lose Alabama. We agree on that? They're going to keep it. Okay, there's like a 5% chance they lose Vanderbilt, and maybe like a 40% chance they lose Kentucky.
Fair enough.
And so if they lose one of those 2 games, I think it will be Florida as the third. But again, it's 3-6. You got to have 3 permanent opponents, and they have more history with those other 3.
And the joy of doing a live podcast, I need to flip my laundry, so I'll be right back.
All right. So I'll co-host. Yeah, I mean, this is what happens when the 2 of us get together and we talk about stuff both in person. But I mean, yeah, I think I think that the big casualty of this is going to be the loss of all these ancillary rivalries. Like, we're going to go team by team talking about how every single opponent has what percent chance to stay, or every single SEC team has what percent chance to stay on Florida's schedule on an annual basis. And we're going to go through all these teams and we're going to say no to a couple of them that, like we just did with Tennessee, that Florida is going to be upset about not playing every year. Florida Tennessee is a big game. I don't know that I'd call it a game on the level of
Rocky Flop.
yeah.
In the SEC.
Casey, you were there with me. You were there with me. How did I enjoy the Tennessee fans' company a couple years ago with that game?
Which one? The racist one?
The 2000. Oh, well, yes, there was a racist one. There was just a drunken one. The guy who wore the sunglasses at night.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was like, dude, you're not Corey Hart. I mean, you're probably like Jethro, Jim Bob.
How did I interact with them? What were those interactions?
Let's well, we can't really talk about that on air if we don't want to have this be an explicit podcast.
True.
But you know,
It wasn't pretty.
I have had such experience with Tennessee fans. I have been to Florida, Tennessee in 2013, 14, 16, 17, 19 at the Swamp,
21. That was it.
and 21. So I've been to Neyland and I've been to, God, their fans are just,
But I will say again, there's a reason why the two teams' fan bases hate each other so much. It's because the game means a lot.
well, it does.
And it's going to suck to lose it.
But you know, like Sandra Bullock said, I will not wear that god awful orange. It is not my color.
As you're wearing a different shade of orange.
Exactly. I'm not wearing vomit orange.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we probably lose Tennessee. I could see that.
It's unfortunate.
Alabama.
No.
I don't think we pick up
Too many other rivalries.
They've got too many rivalries.
And we have too many others ahead of them.
South Carolina, I don't think we pull them.
Very unlikely. I'll put that in the Mississippi State category where it's unlikely, but yet somehow possible. Because they did say that in a permanent opponent situation, they would take geography into consideration. They are fairly close to Florida.
I mean,
but
if you gave me Georgia, South Carolina, and Mississippi State, I'll take that.
Well, Mississippi State, we said, is probably not.
But if you gave me those three, I would
take that in a heartbeat.
I would absolutely take that in a heartbeat.
But we said no.
Greg Sankey hates Florida too much to do that. So
we still have just one that we're stuck on. We're going to get to some teams that are going to say yes.
So, yeah, but I'm saving the one that I think we both want until the end.
Yeah.
So I'm just going through Texas A&M. I don't see them.
Not a chance.
I don't see them either. Vanderbilt, don't see them either.
Not a chance.
Let's see, Missouri.
Not a chance.
Nope, don't see them. We did Ole Miss. We did Mississippi State. We did Georgia. Oklahoma.
No, very unlikely.
It
would be a cool matchup.
It would be a cool matchup. If they want to place a big SEC name with one of the newcomers, but you got to think they have their own rivalries too. I mean, they're going to have A&M. They've got Missouri. They've got
Oklahoma
from their Big 12 days.
Missouri and Texas are bigger rivalries for them, but
it's still Oklahoma and Missouri. So if you think about the former, either Big 8, the Southwest Conference, and or Big 12, you've got some combination of Texas A&M, Oklahoma, and Missouri.
Yeah, that's true.
Some combination.
Big 12 legacy.
Exactly. Let them.
Yeah.
Well, let them do their thing.
Possible, but very unlikely.
So that leads me to
Texas,
Kentucky.
Okay. Skip Texas.
I just don't think we're going to play Texas.
No.
I mean, we're playing them this year, but I don't see that because Texas is going to have to play Oklahoma, and they're going to have to play Texas A&M and Arkansas. So those are pretty easy to predict.
Yeah.
Right. That side of the equation.
Yeah.
I don't see Kentucky.
I think that is possible because they don't have three hard set rivalries. They have one with Tennessee. They have a weird one with Mississippi State. I guess maybe by default that'll be another one because they don't really have that many rivalries. Florida and Kentucky have played a lot. There's a deep history there, and it's noteworthy that again they're playing this year in the bridge season.
True.
Only half the SEC East, so to say, is on Florida's schedule this year. So. And now they've won 3 straight. So it's not like you can say it's like a Vanderbilt situation where they're completely non-competitive. No, they've ended that.
Yeah. I mean,
I'll say maybe for Kentucky.
I would put them higher than Mississippi State.
Oh, definitely. I'll say they're higher than Tennessee, honestly.
Yep.
I think there's probably a 40% chance Tennessee and like a 60% chance it's Kentucky.
I think the SEC has realized that Florida Tennessee is not going to be what it was in the 90s. It's never going to go back to that. As much as they've tried to pump it, as much as they've tried to make it happen, I don't think it's going to happen.
I agree with that.
Tennessee's only won, what, 5 times since 2000 against Florida?
They are, well, it's 2-16 in the last 18. They've won 7 times since the end of the Korean War.
Good old Rocky Flop.
Like, just let that settle. Go Google that. Like, when was the war? Like, Google that. You'll see it.
So I could see Georgia and Kentucky being 2 of those teams. I could see that. Now this brings us to the last one. I think we both agree. To me, I have missed Auburn as a Florida opponent. Geographically, institutionally, as some of you all know, I work in higher education, and there aren't many schools that have the big 4 level of graduate schools, meaning law, medical, dental, and veterinary. So if you have those 4 professional schools, you're really set up. And a lot of schools don't have all 4. Florida does, and Auburn does. They have the history. They've got the rivalry. I think that's been a good rivalry. I mean, even 2019 when we played that one-off, I mean, the swamp was rocking that day.
Loudest I've ever heard it.
Yep, the loudest I've. Yep. But you also think about when they played before that, 2011 in Auburn. I mean, that was a hard fought. It was ugly, but it was a hard fought. I mean, both teams played that.
Back to 06 and 07 if you want to talk about like good games.
Freaking West Bynum. And what? Hey. Auburn was the only team. Auburn was the only team to beat Tim Tebow twice.
Yeah, the only team Urban Meyer never beat in the SEC.
So, I'd like to see that rivalry back, and especially with Hugh Freeze over there with what he's doing in the offense,
taking our recruits, Amaris Williams.
Billy is great for recruiting.
Well, he is a good recruiter. He just can't win enough games to keep them.
Where do we finish this year in recruiting?
Not in the top 10.
Huh. And where were we at one point in recruiting?
Number 3.
Oh yeah. So
Billy, that was my point.
Anyway,
you just can't keep him.
When we get a new coach post Billy Napier.
Okay, so that's a big thing to say. So you're already out on Billy.
You're
already out on Billy Napier.
I'm out on Billy Napier. And you know why I went out on Billy Napier? The trick play against Florida State, when every ounce of momentum was with Florida, you throw it out the window. And then you sit there and look on the sideline like, well, what happened? We followed our tails off,
So that definitely damaged. I think that's a good thing to talk about now, very briefly. But we'll do another show on that.
We'll do another show on that.
But for now,
I'm out.
That definitely damaged my faith in him.
I'm out. And I'm out. But show me you can do something against the sketch. Make a bowl. Make a bowl this year.
That's a very low bar.
But 9 of 12 opponents that Florida is playing next year are ranked. The only non-ranked teams that we are playing are Samford and Mississippi State.
Central Florida.
In Central Florida. That's it. Everybody else is
you do have sympathy for him with the schedule.
I do have sympathy for him with the schedule.
Okay.
But
back to
a place like Florida, you should embrace that expectation.
I agree.
And if you don't embrace that expectation both on and off the field, you're in over your head.
Okay, so that's a good setup for the next time we do a tailgate talk. We're gonna disagree on that a little bit. I'm very irritated with Billy, but I'm not done with him yet.
I'm done, but
okay,
show me something and
so
might come back.
Okay, fair enough. Back to our
Auburn. I think that this melds perfectly for Florida.
So Auburn has 2 that they know.
Georgia and Alabama. They're not going to lose either one.
They don't have a third.
That's what I'm saying. I think it fits.
They could maybe be put with Georgia, or maybe be put with Tennessee. They do have a history with that, but again, as we said, Tennessee
I would put Auburn with LSU before I put Auburn with Tennessee.
LSU history, locked in rivalries. Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas.
But Arkansas is not a rival for them.
Watch them get paired together.
But it's not a rival. That would be a mistake. But Greg Sankey makes a lot of those. So, I think Auburn's 3 opponents should be Florida, Alabama, and Georgia.
That's brutal, dude.
But that's Auburn would have an argument because
Florida will not be this bad for this long.
But we also don't know what Alabama's going to look like post Saban.
No, you don't. That's true. But you also can't assume that they're going to fall off a cliff that quickly either. So when you
I mean,
set
Florida,
these decisions,
Florida did after Urban Meyer.
yes, but that was a precipitous fall. And remember, 2 years after he left, they were 11-1 in the Sugar Bowl. So you can't assume it's going to happen overnight like that. Even in the portal era, they're going to get some success to come their way.
I agree, but Alabama's not going to reach the levels that they were at.
No, but they'll still be pretty damn
I mean,
good.
yeah,
That is
they'll
still
be decent. They'll be
if
decent.
Florida is by far the weakest of your 3 annual opponents, you have a gripe.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how they cut all of this up, because if you look at Georgia has to play Auburn and Georgia has to play Florida. Alabama has to play Auburn. Alabama has to play LSU
And Tennessee.
I
That's
don't agree with that. South Carolina has to play Kentucky, and I think
that I don't know about.
and I think they have to play Missouri, the Battle of the Columbias.
But that's a new thing.
But there's a trophy. You brought up the trophy.
yes, but a new one. But a new one, not a historic.
You brought up the trophy.
It's a new trophy. It's not a historic one.
Neither is LSU Arkansas.
Yes, it is.
That came around in '92.
That's a lot old. That's a lot older than
Okay, whippersnapper. So yeah, whippersnapper.
Really sad.
So you look at games that have to be played.
Yeah.
You got to play the Iron Bowl. You got to play whatever they're calling Florida Georgia now.
It's no. It's the world's largest outdoor cocktail party.
Whatever they call it.
We're not going to let no.
You got to play the Egg Bowl.
Yeah.
Between Ole Miss and Mississippi State. You got to play Texas A&M. Is there a name for that?
Lone Star Showdown.
Okay, so you got to play that. You got to play the Red River rivalry shootout, whatever they're calling it now. You got to play that between Texas and Oklahoma. There are a certain number of games that you have to play.
Southwest Classic, Texas A&M, Arkansas.
Yep, there are certain games that you have to play.
Yep.
But does the league go out on a limb? Because this is a really good opportunity for the league to go out on a limb and redefine rivalries and shake things up and create new rivalries in the space of, I know I lived in New Orleans for 2 years. LSU fans do not consider Arkansas a rival. I mean, I know there's a trophy. They themselves do not consider Arkansas a rival. Is that taken into account? They consider Florida a rival. They absolutely consider.
Do you
Florida
think that's because they beat up on Arkansas every year?
Of course. It's like us in Tennessee.
So if Arkansas were to suddenly pull off 3 straight wins, do you think that changes?
No.
You sure?
Positive. Because LSU,
I can make that argument with Florida, Tennessee, and Florida, Kentucky.
But Kentucky was competitive before those 3 straight wins. I mean, if you look at that,
31.
But if you look at that, I can count at least 4 or 5 games on one hand that Florida should have lost.
But only in the
during
last,
that streak.
But only in the last 5 or 6 years.
Doring's got a touchdown. Doring's got a touchdown.
That's 1.
Okay, so you got
07 was 2.
07, 14.
So I'm saying the last 5, 6 years.
15.
The last 5 or 6 years of that 31 game streak. Yes.
I'm just saying that rivalry.
Look at the other score.
That streak should have ended. That streak should have ended before.
Right, but in the 20s, not at 2 or 3.
No.
I mean, you mentioned the other score. How about 63-5?
Okay, so 86 was the last time Kentucky beat Florida. So what's the difference between 86 and 93?
Okay, so it's 7 years.
And what was the score throughout the 90s in Florida, Kentucky?
Some of them were pretty damn bad.
And some of them were pretty close too. I'm just saying.
Florida put 70 on them one time.
But Florida also beat them by 7 1 year too.
Yeah.
So look, if you were to say, Casey, you win the lottery if you get the 3 rivals for Florida, or if I were to say Neil gets the 3 rivalries, I would say Georgia, Kentucky, and Auburn. Those are my 3 for Florida. What are your 3?
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. I think, well, all right, so I'll give 2 answers. One, what the SEC should do is Florida, Auburn, and Kentucky. I think what they will do is the same answer.
And Georgia, you mean?
Yes, correct. Georgia, Auburn, and Kentucky. I think, and I will give them credit for this if they do this. They will be resurrecting a dead rivalry in Florida, Auburn, which takes a lot of guts to do that.
Yep.
I do wonder though, if they say they already have Alabama and Georgia, that's just too much.
And Auburn would have a legit gripe
Yeah.
with that. And really, if we're looking at LSU would have a gripe too.
Why?
Alabama,
Arkansas?
you're obsessed with this Arkansas thing.
They play for a fucking
No,
thing of gold.
You just cussed, man.
Oh, I did. I said,
Yeah, you said the F word.
no, I didn't.
Go and watch the play.
Okay.
Go and watch the tape.
Okay. I will.
So, and because Neil has a problem with saying you're right when he does something, and you all heard him just use the F word, and then he just needs to deny it. So
Maybe I did. I don't.
no, you did.
Okay.
So
You've cursed too, by the way, in the show.
not today.
Yes, you did.
It did not.
You did.
Go and watch the tape.
I will.
So LSU, I think they've got Alabama that you have to have them play Alabama.
Yeah.
I think you have to play Ole Miss, the Magnolia Bowl. That's a big bowl. That's a big game for them.
Yeah.
And that's a competitive rivalry. I mean, yes, LSU has won more, but that's very much akin to something like for Florida, South Carolina. That's a pesky little rivalry
Yeah, I see
for
that.
them.
I see that.
So LSU's got Alabama and Ole Miss. I mean, if you place Florida in that, I mean, I think they've got a gripe with what Lane Kiffin is doing at Ole Miss. The history of LSU, Alabama, they would have a gripe. Would Georgia have a gripe if they got Auburn, Florida, and who do you think the third team for Georgia is going to be? I think you give Georgia one of the new ones. I could see Georgia. I could see Georgia, Oklahoma.
The problem is, who do you take away from Oklahoma to do that? Because you know it won't be Texas.
No, it won't be Texas.
So who do you take away? I don't think. I think they'll get paired with Missouri because that's another old rivalry.
I think you'd rather place Georgia with, yes, okay, Oklahoma, Missouri is a rivalry, I guess, but better TV, better advertising dollars, Oklahoma and Georgia.
Sure, but again, with this new 3-6,
And plus of the Rose Bowl history that they had, yeah, I'd
well,
want.
that was one game. Florida, Oklahoma played for a natty, but
well, and they also played in the Cotton Bowl.
yeah,
But
we don't talk
I
about
think
that.
Georgia's opponents are probably going to be Oklahoma, Auburn, and Florida. That's my guess for Georgia.
I wouldn't be, as a Florida fan who thinks that they've gotten off so easy the last couple years, I wouldn't hate that.
I wouldn't hate it.
Because Oklahoma's like they're a historical powerhouse.
Mhm.
They're going to have better days. I mean,
hard to win in Norman. It is hard to win in Norman.
But they won't be this bad for that
No,
long.
they won't.
They weren't bad last year. 2 years
last
ago,
year.
they were really bad.
I mean, they beat Texas last year, who went to the playoff.
Right.
So
2 years ago,
not that bad.
2 years ago, they were really bad.
So, but they also got a new coach. So
Right. True.
So and Venables is doing a good job over there. So
far.
I think those are going to be Georgia's opponents. I think Georgia's going to get Oklahoma. I think they're going to get Florida, and I think they're going to get Auburn.
I wouldn't hate that. I mean, also the other thing, the onus is on us to not be terrible. So like, if
the onus has been on us for the past decade,
right? So if Florida just decides to get its ducks in a row and actually takes football seriously, but that's all right. That's not fair. I mean, they're trying, but if Florida becomes more successful than they have been, then it becomes a legitimate.
Well, and think about if Florida gets their ducks in a row, and you've legitimately got Florida, Mississippi State, Florida, Georgia, and Florida, Auburn.
Yeah. Big time.
You should win at least one of those.
Sure.
You should.
Sure.
Right. And Mississippi State's low hanging fruit, but Auburn's not been of Auburn's past.
Right.
So you might steal one from them. And then you depend on the cross. Who would you place in the other 6 games in the first year? So we're looking at 2025. You got your 3. Who do you place in the other 6?
I think you keep Florida, Tennessee, and Florida, Auburn, and Florida LSU alive for one more year. I think you keep those 2 games.
And I think we're going to keep LSU as a rival.
Okay. Then, all right, if you're right, then I say it's Florida, Auburn.
Okay.
So either way, Florida will play LSU, Auburn, and Tennessee.
Okay, so those are 3.
And I think that Florida will get one of the new ones, either Texas or Oklahoma.
Or we're playing Texas this year.
Yeah, but so they might come to us. They might come to Gainesville, or we might go to Oklahoma, or Oklahoma might come to us.
Well, we're going to Texas, so one of them will come to Florida.
Yeah. Also, the SEC has this weird fetish with Florida and Texas A&M.
Yeah,
like every time there's an opportunity to have a bridge schedule, 2012, 2020, and now 2024, it's always Florida, Texas A&M. So
I'm tired of playing.
So in the first game of or the first year of a new schedule, they might just do that again.
I hope not. I hope
It's
not.
look, their fans are
Hey,
great.
after the schedule this year, we better have Vanderbilt on that 2025 schedule.
Yeah, and it's time,
And we better have
and
South Carolina on that schedule
and it's
too.
time for Georgia to go there for once,
Georgia still has not been to College
ever,
Station.
ever. Like
And
in the history of
and they
ever.
joined the league in 2012.
Yeah, it's been we're
Almost
working on
12 years
Yeah, right.
that they have not been to College Station. So I think Georgia goes to College Station.
hope so.
Well, Georgia goes to Tuscaloosa this year. So
Big deal.
well, they've been twice. Georgia's been twice.
First year after Saban. What a shock that's how it works out.
But they went, and when was that? 20?
Whoopee,
Was that
2020 when
Yeah.
there was COVID and there wasn't a full stadium. Big deal.
And I was living in Atlanta. It was fantastic when they lost. So all right. So I think in 2025, Florida's going to play Auburn, Florida's going to play LSU, and Florida's going to play Kentucky. Those are the three. Those are my three that I think.
Yep.
I think Florida will play Vanderbilt, South Carolina, Tennessee. I think they will play. I think they're going to play A&M. I do, because they do have some weird fetish with Florida A&M. I think I think Oklahoma or Texas will come to the Swamp. And I have one more opponent. Probably one of the well, no, because we're playing both the Mississippi schools this year.
Doesn't mean we can't play them in the other venue.
Sure.
I mean, the only rule the SEC has is you can't go to play at the same team 2 years in a row. You can play them multiple years in a row. That's not going to stop that.
So maybe they just flip it.
Yeah,
and they
like
send
Florida goes to Ole Miss.
Florida goes to Ole Miss because and as somebody that I went to Ole Miss in 2020, I'm really mad at the league for sending us to Mississippi State when we went in 2018.
Yeah.
When we went to Oxford in 2020, the COVID protocols.
No growth.
There was no growth. The stadium was half full. Again, Greg Sankey screws the pooch once again, and could have sent Florida to Oxford that we were denied in 2020. But no, we got to go hear those damnable cowbells.
So wait a minute, then just to rehash our thesis, then we do disagree on the three permanent opponents.
We do disagree on the three permanent
So just
opponents.
again, for the record, mine are Auburn, Georgia, and Kentucky is the most likely.
And that's actually mine. We do agree.
We do. So
Auburn, Georgia, and Kentucky.
So what about LSU that you said?
It's a coin flip between Kentucky and LSU, I think.
I mean, your whole argument was Arkansas rivalry isn't the same to them, so that they weren't compared with them. Okay.
It's a coin flip.
Okay,
I think.
Okay.
I just don't think the league gets rid of Florida LSU. There's just too much history. There are too many NFL players on both teams. There have been too many classic games. There have been too many upsets.
Yeah.
I just don't think you get rid of that. So yes, I'm saying Kentucky just because I think the league is going to make that mistake. But I mean, that would be LSU, Georgia, and Auburn. That's oof.
Yeah.
But there's no easy schedule in the SEC, really.
That's what I've said all about this year.
It just means more. So that will conclude it for this episode of Tailgate Talk. Let us know what you think. Who are your three opponents? Find us on Twitter at Tailgate Talk FLA. Give us a follow. Let us know who you think Florida's going to play in 2025. Who our permanent opponents should be. Let us have it. So
before we sign off, like that polo, Casey.
Thanks, man. I got it from a drifter on the street. His name was Neil.
Oh, I see.
So I think I think you can go online to his website and buy it if you want to do that.
And allkindsofweather.com/merch to get yours today. Got quarter zips, as you can see. Got polos. They do come in 4 colors: white, black, blue, and orange.
Beard not included.
Beard not included. That's a Casey specialty. Yeah, so it does come with the partial alligator logo. It does come with the full logo with the IKW on the front as well. As you can see, Casey, turn around. Like that back too. You got.
Don't be turn around. That's weird.
Oh, Casey, you're making it weird. Yeah, so you got that on the back too.
Weird, still weird.
You're the one making it, buddy.
So
yeah, like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Let us know what you think, and we're gonna have a few more of these episodes now that my health is getting back to where it should be. We're gonna have a few more of these episodes. So we are gonna end it with Go Gators.
and beat Miami. Since we are recording this before the Florida Miami series, it probably will not get uploaded until after that series. So we are hoping that it's going to be a Florida series victory over Miami that we will talk about soon.
The tropical depressions, you mean?
Yeah, whatever you want to call them.
The tropical depressions.
Yeah,
that's what
whatever you want to call
the
them.
highly tropical depressions.
Sure.
So, thanks for joining us, folks. Find us on Twitter, Tailgate Talk FLA, and we will talk with you soon. Until then, keep cool.